What interested you about that? What will your responsibilities do, and what are your goals?
Yeah, so in mid-December, President Capilouto came and talked to me, and he said, I know you've got this ambassador clause in your contract. No one's really sure what that means. We're not sure what that means, and sort of tried to get your feel for where you think your heartbeat is for your career. And after 24 years, you begin to think about the what's next, and I really hadn't been able to get my arms wrapped around any of that. So he would on a weekly cadence or every other 10 days, he would get us together and just talk and say, what matters to you? And I was reading a book called Living Life Backwards. It's a fabulous book, and I'm not endorsing books or anything like that, but if you want to read it, it's pretty good. And it talks about how you try and find meaning and purpose to your life and living it backwards. And so the word matters was important to me. I wanted to find something that mattered. And it was, he came back to me and said, we're working through these workforce initiatives in different parts of the campus. Would you be interested in having a sports initiative on that pathway? And I'm trying to define what that is, and we're obviously going to have to build that from the ground up. And in some respects, there's some things in place, and be able to work on that. But the position is no longer ambassador, and so it reframed where we are. So the job was a little ambiguous as an ambassador, and then I think what he did was he put pen to paper and gave it some clear direction as to what we're trying to do and be a part of the workforce initiative to create jobs and to get young people on a path. And I will tell you, I get 20 to 30 resumes a week, or not a week, a month, about people wanting to get into the enterprise of sports, but they don't know how to do it. They think just walking out of here with a degree that they're ready to go, they can tackle, I can do marketing. I've got a marketing degree. They don't even know what that means in the world of sports. They have no idea what it means to be operations in sports. They don't know what it means. I've got the experts here. These folks are experts, and they have worked it and they've done it. So how do you teach that? And so when people come out, they're ready, and now they've got a pathway, they've got a real job, and they're working at it. So that excites me to teach, mentor, and grow. That's what I want to do. So I think there'll be pieces that are in place that we can augment, and then there's pieces that we're going to build from the ground up. And I think that's important. So I'm going to do part of that. I've raised a little money since we've been here at this university. We're with my staff, the most remarkable fundraising staff ever. We've raised literally hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think we can help in that area too. And I've told the president I want to help with that. And Jake Lemon's over here. Jake's the director of the vice president for philanthropy here, and I want to help with whatever helps the university. So as I highlighted just a little bit ago, all I've ever done in my life is work. So this notion that this golden parachute is falling from the ceiling and I'm going to sit in the rocking chair and eat hay is ridiculous garbage. And that notion that started by some couple, 2 or 3 knuckleheads needs to end. I'm excited about working. I'm not done. That's why I asked for a couple of years to go, so I could work longer and have purpose to what I'm doing in my journey. I like being active. And so that's a big part of what I want to do. So in a nutshell, I have some sense of where we're going to go and how we're going to do it. But building, sometimes you get into it and you figure out how to build after that and you go. And I'm going to do that.
Yeah, Mitch, I think we've had the conversation the last 5 or 6 years about when you might retire.
Yep.
Why now, and what got you to the point where you were at complete peace with it and wake up in the morning and not be a little panicked?
I think a couple things. One, those 8 little ones over here, if you had 8 were as good as those 8, you'd want to spend more time with them. And I want to. They've earned that just by being here. And they're all here local. I got them all around me. So it's awesome. It's awesome. I'd start with that. Number 2, Connie and I we were not, and I will say this, we weren't aligned in our thoughts and trying to get to we weren't in the same space in terms of trying to make sure that we were thinking through it the right way. For a lot of reasons. There's all sorts of reasons. And I thought Bob Russell's advice to be aligned was really, really important. And so I wanted to do that. And we finally got to a spot where we had conversations about what was important. Number two, what was next? I had no what's next. I couldn't get my arms around what was next. And Dr. Capilouto gave me an opportunity to figure out what was next, and I had a pathway to do that. There's one of my favorite, and I'm going to use this analogy. If you'll remember about, I want to say 3 seasons ago, our track team went to Eugene, and we ran the greatest 4x400 I've ever seen run. The first 2 laps, Kentucky was a half lap down, and the baton was passed to one Abby Steiner. And Abby took off, and not only did she catch up, but she lapped the field, and she gave us about a quarter of a lap lead. And then she handed the baton to Alexis Holmes, and Alexis Holmes took off and finished the race, and we won the race. Why is that important? 2 reasons. It's sort of what we had here. We inherited being a half lap down, didn't we, Doc? Yeah, he's chuckling. We were at least a half lap down. And this staff made it possible for us to catch the leaders, where we've won 60 some odd championships, more things to celebrate than this institution's ever seen. But it was time to hand the baton to someone, let them finish the race. That was important. And I felt at peace with that for the first time in a while. Fast forward to a week ago Tuesday, we go play at South Carolina in basketball. I'm down there before the game, and I hear this woman yelling my name, Mr. Barnhart, Mr. Barnhart. And I see 2 people coming down the stairs in their Letterman's jacket, and it was Abby Steiner. I said, well, God was winking at me and telling me, figure it out, dude. It's time. Yeah, dude. It's time. I got it. He winked at me and said, it's right. And that wasn't some coincidence. Come on, better than that. I believe that. I believe there's confirmation in a lot of different ways. So that was the timing. Keith?
Hey, Mitch, how much have you relied on your faith in the last 24 years, especially in the beginning, coming to a program where it was and where it is now?
There's nothing that gets us through without that. The support system of our church, the people of our church, our pastors, the waking up every morning to my wife's insistence early on, and then the rhythm of waking up every morning and spending time in the Word was the only thing that got us through. And I'll come back to that later on in this conversation. But our faith and the people that poured into us and prayed over us, I will never, ever be able to repay that. And I'm thankful that God provided and protected our family. That's the only way we made it. It was not us. We had nothing to do with it. We showed up, and He provided.
Mitch, I was not here in 2002, but I'm asking on behalf of Steve Moss in the back.
All right, it's a what do they call it? You know, all right,
We deferred. I was in college in 2002. For the record.
Thank you for not saying you weren't born in 2002,
yes,
because I got a lot of those as well.
Since arriving at Kentucky to now, the job description, I'm sure, of an athletics director has changed quite a bit. How would you describe the role of an athletics director when you started compared to how it is now?
I think what has happened is the pace at which the enterprise has grown has stretched resources, people, the capacity of time is really difficult. You're stretched a lot of ways, thin. And so that coupled with the incredible intensity of the focus with the advent of social media and the moment by moment news breaking things that occur, has changed the entire landscape. Then you get into legislation, litigation, and I'm not going to get into any of that today. There's not enough time. It's highly complex, and it ratchets itself all the way across multiple spectrums. The ability to compete, teach, mentor, and grow is as important today as it ever was. That's the only way you're going to win. See, the one thing that AI can't take, the one thing that technology can't take, the one thing that all the stuff you can punch into a keyboard can't take is what these coaches manufacture in a locker room. You cannot put that in a heart. It won't beat. It won't beat. So absolutely critical mass that we understand what it takes to move the heart of people. And that's what these coaches are challenged to do. That's why their job's moderately secure. And that is the one thing that technology can't replace, is how you deal with passion, emotion, leading, encouraging people to do their work. You can't. So where we used to worry about competing 75% of the time, run 25% of the business, I've made that comment before. It's a little bit reversed for those in the athletic director's chair, but it can't be for them. They've got to take best information that they can get their hands on and find a way to put that into the puzzle and get someone's heart to tick for the passion of the program. And that's what's changed.
Mitch, this may sound like hyperbole, but I think I've been around here longer than anybody. This is the most, given NIL, portal, you just talked about legislation, injunctions, this and that, lawsuits. This is the most chaotic period in the history of college athletics. Mm-hmm. Did that factor at all into your decision either way, hanging on because the sport needs old heads like you, with all due respect, or is it time to step aside and let the new blood try to get through this period?
No, that didn't factor into it. The climate wasn't. We've been aggressive in all of that area. I'm not worried about that. We've worked really, really hard. Our staff, our fundraising staff, and our coaches have worked really, really hard in that landscape. So that's not. It is complex. That this issue is not going to whatever. And I'm not going to get deep into that today. I don't want to do that. And that I want to celebrate a little bit and not being. But yeah. We've been a part of all that. Our staff has done an amazing job of working our way through all of those issues. This is an issue that's got to have a solution in the next, little while. But I'm not sure you can get there in the next couple of years. It's going to take a bit, and it's going to take some incredible work on a lot of people's part. I want to prepare some of those folks, the leaders that we've got coming into this thing, some of the folks that are going to work at it. If we don't have a pretty good pipeline for that coming in, there's some really good people who I have much, much respect for that also are saying, you know what, I'm going to do a couple other different things in my world. And so it's important that we backstop that with people coming in on the other side. So a couple more and I'm going to call it CL.
Mitch, I'm going to kind of piggyback off of that question. Aside from the changes in college athletics outside of this program, the Integrate Blue is possibly going to change things within it. I was curious if that at all played a factor in your decision, and how might things be different for your replacement, just in terms of how the athletic department will be run through Integrate Blue? Yeah,
I think that the president will have to answer some of that, but I do believe that it's going to change. I mean, and we've got to be able to adapt. And the one thing I think that you've seen some plans, right? You've seen some plans that talk about, multi-use district and things like that, and how do we create new revenue streams for our program that allow us to have the infusion. We're out of the normal 5 buckets of tickets and fundraising and major contracts and multimedia agreements and your conference revenue sharing and those kind of things. How do you do more than those normal 5 buckets? Well, we've got to be creative, and the LLC gives us some of those opportunities, and so that's important, yes. Again, it goes back to what ends up supporting the ability for us to do what? graduate our young people, and compete like crazy. And if we can find a way to spin the wheel a little faster from a revenue perspective, it gives us more opportunity to do that. So I'm hoping the LLC is part of that. It's just a reframing or restructuring of things. It doesn't mean necessarily that we've changed our business completely. We're trying to add things to the model. I think it's probably a better way of looking at it. Make sense? John.
Mitch, as you talk about handing the baton off, what do you envision for your role moving forward in either helping pick your successor or provide advice or whatever you want to do moving down the line?
I'm not going to pick my successor. That is not my role. This is the university's search, and I will not be involved in it. If they ask my advice or ask for my opinion, I'm glad to give it, but this is the president's search, and it is his search. In terms of being around, I was always appreciative when I got advice. I should have listened to some other advice when I first came here. People gave me advice. I'm smarter than that. I got this. And I made some mistakes. I'll sit to the side, and if people want my advice, I am glad to help. But this is going to be their program, not mine. I don't think this institution, and there'll be a lot of people are going to go, oh, great, I'm glad he said that. They don't need Mitch Barnhart 2.0. They don't. They need their own version of what's best for them and what they think is best for this program, and I'm good with that. I want what's best for Kentucky. I love this place. Love this place. I love the athletes that were here. I love the coaches that are going to remain. I hired all of them, except Harry. Harry's been here longer than anybody. Harry, I didn't hire you. I sort of did. I got you into the full-time status, coach. They're my coaches. I want them to be successful. And if making a change in what I've done or how I've done it, and I didn't like the way I did it, change it. It's okay. I'm unoffendable. It doesn't bother me. That's okay. I've taken enough shots. I think I can handle that. We're okay. So, no, I'm not going to be involved in that. That's their deal. But if they want my advice, I'm glad to give it. I just want to teach young people at this point in time. Last one.
Mitch, I know your faith is paramount, and you quoted some of your favorite verses today. Do you feel in your own right you can walk away from this with well done, good and faithful servant?
I think that's not mine to judge. I hope that's what he'll say. I hope that's what he'll say. Not mine to judge. Yep. Closing comment. 2016, September 2016. We're at Florida. We get our absolute head handed to us. We got a few problems on the sideline. The locker room's a train wreck. It's not the greatest of scenes. Coach is not in a great spot. Folks are a little unhappy with where we are. And we get home, and we go to church the next morning. It's difficult because we got home